by live to give us the wrap-up of that big game. It was an incredible one in overtime again, 4-3. Michigan loses, thank goodness, to Maine hockey. The Black Bears are just doing it all, aren't they, Dale?
Boy, that is some kind of comeback. Everybody is shaking. About 17,000 people here at the Bradley Center today, and believe it or not, most of the people were rooting for the Maine Black Bears. And it was quite a comeback. Maine got behind 2-0 early in the game, and then they came back, and it was about 4 minutes to go in the game, and the Black Bears finally got a goal from Ingraham, and it was from Montgomery, and it was a 3-3 game. And then in overtime, it was Lee Saunders, the defenseman. It was actually another defenseman, Andy Silverman, who tipped it ahead. And there it is, Lee Saunders with that goal in overtime. It came at the 1:36 mark, and it sent Maine into its first ever national championship game. The Black Bears wait now to see what happens tonight between Boston University and Lake Superior, but the Maine Black Bears and Hockey East will have at least one team in the Final Four. You see the big scoreboard behind me. That's when it all happened. Maine over Michigan, 4-3, 18-24. 1 minute and 36 seconds into overtime, and this place went crazy. Most of the people around here were rooting for the Maine Black Bears, and their 41st win certainly was the biggest of the year. John, come on in here. This is one fellow that should be very familiar to Eastern Maine sports fans. John Heward, Maine Maritime Academy football coach. He's out here. He's got hockey fever.
Oh, I love it. It's just fantastic.
Where were you? And tell us what you saw in that goal.
I was right at the far end zone, and we could see it go right through the goalie's legs. It was great.
This was a comeback that a football coach or any sports fan could love.
Well, and there's no question about it. Maine was just scratching and clawing, and they just wanted it. You can tell they really wanted it, and they did it.
And the Maine Black Bears are now in their first ever national championship game. The press conferences are going on now, and we'll have more from the Bradley Center on our 6 o'clock report. Roy?
All right, Dale and John, thank you both. And we were privileged enough to be able to bring you that game right here on Channel 2. Now, of course, Saturday's championship game is going to be on ESPN, so if you don't have cable, folks, you better give your friends a call who do. It's going to be a great game. Well, the afternoon hockey game today interrupted the schedules of a lot of people today. Over at Village Subaru in Bangor, well, salespeople as well as potential buyers were just glued to the TV sets. There were lots of cheers and some frowns and growls as Maine tackled Michigan in that NCAA semifinal game. Well, this business was one of many finding themselves with the Black Bear spirit today.
We've gone way back when, and our whole staff is very interested in Maine hockey, and we brought the TV up today just to help them out to watch the game in between their breaks and so on.
Is it interfering with work at all?
On a snowy day like today, not very much today.
Well, Jim Quirk says that surprisingly he was able to sell some cars while the game was going on, so good for him. Well, the other big...
The College Hockey Championship. We'll be back. Of course, is capturing all the headlines. The NCAA Hockey Final Four got underway at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee. Maine and Michigan in the first game. The Black Bears lost only one game all season long, averaging 6 goals a game coming in. The Wolverines, coached by Walter Red Berenson, the former National Hockey League player. And in the final minute of regulation, Paul Correa is stoned by Steve Shields. Correa will get one more shot, and Steve Shields comes up big again to overtime. Mike Latendresse feeds Lee Saunders, and Maine will win it in overtime, 4-3. It just kind of slips through the wickets. The Black Bears play the winner of tonight's Lake Superior State Boston University game in the championship final, and we'll have that championship final for you Saturday night live from the Bradley Center at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. 'Tis the time of the season when virtual...
One more time on Saturday night. Maine's 42nd win of the season and their first ever at a Final Four. The Black Bears advanced to the national championship today with a 4-3 overtime win over Michigan. Joe Carr has all the highlights.
Maine already trailed 1-0 when David Roberts of Michigan scored just over 4 minutes into the game to put the Black Bears in a 2-goal hole. Cal Ingraham's 45th goal of the year, though, came halfway through the first period. Turned out to be a very big goal because it cut the Michigan lead in half, 2-1 after one period. Maine stormed Michigan to begin the second period. Matt Martin's power play goal, assisted by Paul Correa, tied the game at 2. Maine kept the pressure on. In fact, had some good shorthanded chances when Dwayne Ward came back the other way and scored a power play goal for Michigan, 7:54 of the second period, putting the Wolverines back up on top, 3-2. That would be the last goal of the game for Michigan. Maine was all over Michigan in the third period, doing everything but scoring until 4 minutes and 3 seconds were left in the game when Cal Ingraham converted a feed from Jim Montgomery off the faceoff to tie the game at 3 and send it to overtime. And in overtime, just 1 minute and 36 seconds in, a short overtime, as so often happens, an unlikely hero, Lee Saunders, just his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Mike Latondres, put the Black Bears into the national championship game 4-3.
A huge Maine crowd went crazy after the game. Defenseman Lee Saunders was pretty excited as well, talking about the biggest goal of his career.
So I just walked in with the puck, and it slipped off my stick for a split second there, so I just swatted at it and it managed to get in.
And what was the feeling when that thing right between the pipes and you guys found out you were going to the national championship?
It was funny. I wasn't sure if it went in straight away. All of a sudden, people started skating, the crowd went nuts, and you were just, I don't know, felt numb.
2 of our previous 3 Final Fours, we went up 2-0 in the first 10 minutes. And on the bench, when they went up 2-0, I told our guys, all the guys that know that fact, I said, hey, it's perfect. It's exactly where we want it.
Championship game Saturday night at the Bradley Center. Maine was the first to advance tonight. The defending champs from Lake Superior State met Boston University at the same rink. It's Jack Parker of BU, but his team never really got going against the Lakers. Wayne Strawn here scores, and it was 6-1 the final. Lake Superior State in the championship game against the Maine, and the Black Bears beat the Lakers in Los Angeles at the Great Western Freezeout 3-2 during the regular season, their only meeting. They played in the Final Four in '88 when the Lakers also beat Maine in that tournament.
Going for a win, going for a national championship.
That's right.
And we, of course, everybody's really aware of the Black Bears. That's Maine's pride.
How couldn't they be? And we'll
Exactly.
tell you all about what happened once again coming up in sports.
And the Black Bears weren't the only ones to win big today. We'll tell you about one man's incredible windfall.
And we even know who they're going to play tonight, don't we?
We sure do. It was a thriller in Milwaukee today as Maine Black Bears pulled off an unbelievable comeback overtime win over Michigan, pushing them into the NCAA final game for the first time in their history. Ron Lisnett has been following this great story all day in Milwaukee, and he has this report.
In past NCAA tournaments, Maine had taken early leads only to end up losing. On Thursday, it was the Wolverines who jumped out early on goals by Dave Oliver and Dave Roberts. But Maine kept their poise.
You know, it was funny on the bench. I remembered the previous 2 out of the 3 Final Fours, we were up 2-0, Ron. Right. And darn it, you know, I kind of chuckled to myself when we got down 2-0. I said, this is almost a good omen.
Trailing 3-2 going into the third, Maine stormed the net. Pat Tardis' wraparound should have tied it, but the goal was disallowed. Then with less than 5 minutes to go, Cal Ingraham's second goal of the game tied it.
We're getting some chances, and we knew that if we kept working hard and, you know, and playing strong defensively, that would finally get it by him. And, you know, Shields played a great game tonight, and, you know, we finally were able to get a couple by him you know, at the right time.
With Tardif's goal being disallowed, Maine should have had this win in regulation, but it took defenseman Lee Saunders' 7th goal of the season, 1 minute 36 into overtime, to send Maine to the title game.
The pass down the slot. First puck in front. Shields has scored!
That was your 7th goal this season. Do you remember any of the other ones? I'm sure you're going to remember this one, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a big goal. I'm happy, especially for the team, that we scored. We won the game. That's the main thing.
It feels great right now. We're going to enjoy the moment. We're going to re-energize, get a lot of fluids in our body, and then we'll see who the winner is tonight and just get focused and try and bring back the first national championship to Maine.
All right, now in the other bracket, old friend BU took on last year's national champ Lake Superior State tonight, also in Milwaukee. Let's take a look at the highlights of this one. BU coach Jack Parker, Lake strikes first. First period, Kurt Miller takes it all the way to beat the BU goaltender. Lake State up 1-0. Jeff Jackson likes what he sees right there. A little later on, watch Miller again, doesn't get it, but Wayne Strawn follows. It's 2-0. Lakers after 1. Second period, BU gets one back. Power play goal here. Lena with the slap shot deflected in by Friedman. 2-1 Lakers. But the Lakers come back strong, up 3-1. They get the power play goal from Talia to put them up 4-1. They go on to win 6-1. And let's take a look at today's scoreboard. You can see there Maine won 4-3. In overtime, BU takes Lake Superior State. Maine had played Lake State this year. They beat them in the Great Western Freezeout in Los Angeles in December. So the final is all set for that one.
And here's what happens.
Down the slot, loose puck in front. Shields a score! Score! Maine wins it!
Maine heads to the national championship by the 4-3 win over Michigan for the first time in history. Now in the nightcap, defending national champion Lake Superior State hooked up with Eastern Maine's favorite team, Boston University, and this one was basically all Lake on the power play. Brian Ralston for the Lakers. Then 30 seconds later, still a one-man advantage for Lake Superior. Again, BU in a lot of trouble tonight. They get dumped by the Lakers 6-1. Remember, Maine beat Lake Superior 3-2 earlier this season in the Great Western Freezeout. Well, Dale Duff was at the Bradley Center for today's game. Finally, I think his blood pressure has returned to normal, and he files this report.
For the Maine fans, it all began with a noontime rally, and athletic director Mike Plosick was head cheerleader.
I want to tell you, there's a button here right now, and it shows us what our record, in fact, will be when it's all said and done. 42!
But there was not much to cheer about early in the game. 2 quick Michigan goals, but not to worry, said the coach.
2 of our previous 3 Final Fours, we went up 2-0 in the first 10 minutes. And on the bench, when they went up 2-0, I told our guys, all the guys that know that fact, I said, hey, it's perfect. It's exactly where we want it. And we kind of relaxed and cooled down.
And even this controversial play later in the game when Maine scored, but the officials didn't see it, didn't seem to bother them.
It's over. It's over. 6 years ago, a young coach might have protested that with no gray hair, but this guy's not going to protest that call. That's out of our hands.
Maine's smallest player, Cal Ingraham, was one of the biggest stars. In fact, with just 4 minutes to go in the game and down by a goal, Jim Montgomery and Ingraham had just the play.
That was a play we used once in Cleveland that worked just the same way, and we've tried it a couple other times after that, and it hasn't worked. And before the face-off, Jimmy just gave me a little nod, and I knew what he was doing. So
you know, he's the kind of kid. That's why he's survived college hockey, because he's got a lot of talent, and he's a goal scorer, and he's in position, and he knows what he's doing with the puck.
And wouldn't you know it, defenseman Lee Saunders, who played only 2 shifts in the 3rd period, was the overtime hero just a minute and a half in.
I was standing there in front of the net, and all of a sudden I got it tapped, and the goal was in. So I just kind of whacked at it.
And so a 4th trip to the Final Four pays off for the Black Bears. Maine is in its first ever national championship game Saturday night. From the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'm Dale Duff reporting for News Center.
All right, so let me sum all this up for you. Maine will play Lake Superior State Saturday night, 8:05 p.m. from the Bradley Center in Milwaukee. The game is on ESPN, so if you don't have cable at your home, you better plan to go to a close friend's house who does. And remember, it's winner takes all. Well, the Boston Red Sox are heating